they reported that they have got some success in pilot plants. Also in US, some trials have been successful. So if these get some success, then it would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Without growing the trees, you can absorb CO2 to convert into food.
I have a question. Harish Joshi, President BDMA. On the front of ESG compliance, in compared to China, where we are and where China is, on the part of the seriousness and its implementation. My question is to Ashish and Bharuch, because Ashish spent a couple of years in China.
So, I'll respond to Bharuch ji. In China, it is in pockets to the best of my information. But the law clearly is very much tighter and much more in favor of more sustainable performance and less emissions. For example, in India, the SO2 emissions from power plant, we have a limit of 100 ppm or around 280 milligram per meter cube of SO2 release from power plant stack. In India, in China, that is 50. NOx, in India the limit is same 280. In SO2 limit in China is 35 and for NOx it is 50. The COD limit for river discharge in India is 250, in China that is 60. I have seen factories effluent in China where the effluent is completely transparent. It has a COD of 20 before it is being discharged into the river. I have personally witnessed this. So maybe there are parts of China where we have a feeling that environmental compliance is not so strict. That used to be the case several years back. Since 2015, there is a new environment law in China which has already been implemented, and things are much tight. When there is in winter season, for example, there is a smog. The factories in close vicinity of the city, they are given a closure till the smog disappears. So I think we are much behind China in terms of practices, in terms of environmental awareness, in terms of compliances and proactiveness. Thank you.
So let me share my experience between China and India. I think we should try to see and compare not just present, today what happening. We should go and see the track record. And if you see track record of India and China, then China track record is that today they are second largest carbon emission in the world. They are second largest carbon producer in the world. And if you see India, then it's very less carbon emission happen as compared to the other countries. And also, if you see the regulations, then our track record is since 1972, we have the norm for the wastewater discharge, we have the norm for the air and the water. So we have the Air Water Waste Act since 1972. But if you look at the China, then even in 2015, when Paris Agreement on climate change came, then at that time they were abused for the pollution. And they were free for the industry that they only focus on the production and no focus on the effluent discharge, no stringent regulations before 2015. But yes, after 2015, when world community start pointing out Paris Agreement, climate change came, then yes, now they have several rules and regulations are in place and they are also well placed as far as regulation is concerned. But as I told you, the track record of India is very good. And our track record is not just 1972. If you see, 4,000, 5,000 barrel, then also our epics. You see in epics it has been mentioned that our people were worshipping, do the worship of tree, do the worship of river, do the worship of mountain, even for 5,000 barrel. It means in our DNA it was there even in those days also environment protection. But if you see the China compared to do this, whereas we are not compared. Our track record is good and we are doing slowly and slowly. And as far as the environmental regulation is concerned, you can refer a number of reports in the world. As far as regulation is concerned, India is placed very well. And from long back we have, and today if you compare as a whole environmental regulation, then India's standard is more stringent than any standard in the world in a totality. As I told you, see the deep sea discharge standard. You see US EPA, they allow 4,000 ppm, but still we allow 250 for the individual industry or CETP 500. So our track record is good, our standards are better right now, and we are well placed as far as the environmental norms are concerned.
Sir, I would like to add something. See, what happens is, most of my clients are in Europe and US. And I have great respect for Chinese manufacturing. I'll tell you why. We use a scope 3 hour. Vendors, the entire supply chain will be measured for ESG. In India, we are still fighting with the government, saying, ये हो जाएगा, नहीं हो जाएगा, हमको ये चाहिए, हमको ये चाहिए. And when scope 3 came, the Europeans were fighting with their governments, whether they can do it or not. And in the middle of all this fight, the Chinese manufacturing, along with the Chinese government, decided we will get it done. You see? So right now India is still discussing whether we should do it. The Europeans are still discussing whether they should really work on scope 3. And the Chinese government, along with the Chinese manufacturing, is ready to do scope 3. So the first person who is saying, okay, I will get it done is Chinese. Right? So I think there is a lot of synergy between the Chinese government and the Chinese manufacturing. Right? And they work very strongly together in tandem. And that is why I have respect for them. Now, I will not go into behind the back kya ho raha hai, the certificate kya hai, because that is not my style of operating. Right? We cannot second guess everybody. So dhanda hi nahi ho jayega. Right? But I am saying they are already ready. They are writing to all our customers in Europe and US. We are ready. Scope 3 ke liye. Aa jao, hamare se maal le lo. It's like that. So I think that is something which we should appreciate. I think that is something which Indian businessmen should emulate. And the Indian government should also emulate. So the government should first come and talk to you and say, okay, chalo saath mein milke wahan pe supply karte hain. Because finally it is about foreign exchange. You will be able to save on the fish and the fauna and the flora only if you make some money. Otherwise you can't save anything. Right? तो business acumen के हिसाब से देखेंगे तो then I have very high respect for China because they are already ready and we are still discussing and Europe is also still discussing. So that is my perspective on the whole thing.
Yeah, I kind of concur with what Mr. Seth said. I think one of the major criteria is whether when we go to any river bodies, whether when we go to anywhere in our own country, whether we can go and take a swim in the river, whether we can take a swim in the water body, how polluted are they, and whether we can do this in China, whether we can do this in Europe. I think there lies the answer. I will not further delve into this. There is no time for this. Maybe we can discuss offline. And even if there is any reason to do this, then only there is any point. But otherwise, that is my view.
Yeah. I have one question. I am Rajesh from JB Chemical. I just want to know from literature, sir, they had got the 1.5 million loan from as green loan. So what is the difference between the loans which you are getting from the banks and these loans? Is there subsidiary or what benefits from these loans?
So this 1.5 billion green loan which we have get, this is from the foreign bank. And interest rates are much more lower than the normal interest. And also it is linked with the sustainability performance. So they have linked with certain KPI. For us, it has been linked that moving ahead by 2025, if we will reduce 25% carbon emission from 1920 baseline, if we will reduce 20% water from 1920 baseline by 25 and 25% waste, then only that interest rate is applicable. Otherwise, they will charge different at the higher interest.
We come with a finance background, so there was this body called Principles of Responsible Investing, which went some 15 years back, and the money committed was colossal. So there are trillions of dollars, right? But I'll tell you at the ground level how it really happens. Now, when you want to revamp your supply chain, we just finished a deal for a large cement company, 125 million metric tons of grey cement manufacturing. And if you are making 125 million tons of grey cement per year, and there is a certain emission level, there is a carbon, there is a certain emission, so you have to report it. Now, if you want to revamp your supply chain, entire manufacturing, so as to reduce the carbon emission, and let us look at this right now. So when you revamp the supply chain for such a large cement company, it takes $1 billion, at least €1 billion. But the benefits come in 7 years, 9 years, 12 years. The benefits will not be urgent, immediate kind of thing. Now for any company to take a 1.2 billion hit on the balance sheet is big, right? And banks will not be able to offer you a moratorium of 7 years, 8 years. It will not happen. You also know I am. खाली बोलने के लिए होता नहीं है. 7 साल मोराटोरियम नहीं मिलेगा. उसमें इंटरेस्ट तो ऐड हो ही जाएगा, बाद में चुकाना, लेकिन वो 7 साल का भी इंटरेस्ट लग जाएगा. So then it becomes a never-ending story. And that is why this PRI, and there are a lot of investors globally now who are saying, okay, pay us this much interest, right? And the rest we earn because you are doing good. Karma. वो karma theory वहाँ पे भी. So the good that you do is calculated in terms of a report. It can be any one of these reports, or some investors have their own modes of report. Right? So the good that you do, if you keep on continuing that, just as they have taken a lot of time, then the interest rate would be 3, 4, 5%, which is really a huge difference. When you measure $1 billion and 5% to 5% बच गया, which is like a killing machine. Right? And that those loans are typically not business loans or manufacturing loans. Those loans are typically supply chain revamping loans. Because when you revamp something, then there is profitability. But the profitability will depend on your manufacturing capacity. So the real output in the bottom line, आपको दिखेगा, will take 5 years, 7 years, 9 years, right? And that is where these loans are to be used. So that is a use case which we have recently done. I hope that helps.
So I think there is a pressure on time, and
I have a last question.
The topic is very interesting, and I am sure that you will get time to interact with the panelists. In your break. I am sorry about it.
We extend our gratitude to these esteemed speakers on this panel for imparting their knowledge, and as we know, a lot of people would love to network and know more. We thank Mr. Ashish Garg for sessioning this, for chairing this session. Thank you so much. May I please invite Mr. Sanjeev Verma, EHS Forum Chairman BDMA, to present Mr. Ashish Garg.